Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a geological mystery that's hundreds of millions of years old. It's a wild story of lost oceans and crashing continents, and it all revolves around one very strange question. How in the world can the mountains of Scotland be the long-lost siblings of a mountain range all the way across the Atlantic Ocean?
Okay, so here's the puzzle. You look at a map today, right? Scotland and the east coast of North America are separated by thousands of miles of ocean. But geologically speaking, they're a perfect match. The types of rocks, the structures, they scream that they were once part of a single enormous mountain belt. So the big question is, how did they get torn apart? To solve this, you really only need to know one key term: orogeny. Yeah, it sounds a little complicated, but just think of it as the official name for a continental car crash happening in geological slow motion. It's the process that literally crumples up the Earth's crust to build the incredible mountain ranges we see. To get this, we have to go back in time, way back. We're talking nearly 500 million years ago, long before the Atlantic Ocean was even a thing. The world map looked absolutely nothing like it does today. Continents were scattered in different places, and between them was this vast ancient ocean that has since completely vanished. So let's set the scene. On one side of this lost body of water, the Iapetus Ocean, you had the ancient continent of Laurentia. And here's the absolute key to the whole mystery. This one landmass contained the bedrock of what would become both North America and Scotland. And across the ocean, you had other continents floating around, like Baltica and Avalonia. All the pieces of our story were there, just separated by a whole lot of water. Now, closing an entire ocean isn't a one-and-done deal. It was this slow-motion, multi-stage pileup called the Caledonian orogenic cycle. Think of it like a three-act play that unfolded over 80 million years. Each act was a new collision, a new orogeny, that added another piece to the puzzle and built these mountains higher and higher. So let's dive into Act 1 of this continental drama. The tectonic plates started moving, they started shifting, pushing these huge landmasses closer and closer together, and that set the stage for the first of three epic collisions. So this first big crash, the Grampian orogeny, wasn't actually a continent hitting another continent. Not yet. Instead, you have to picture this massive chain of volcanic islands, what geologists call an oceanic arc, that came and just smashed into the coast of Laurentia, right where modern-day Scotland was sitting. And that impact, well, it just buckled the whole continental edge and threw up the very first set of mountains. This all hit its peak around 470 million years ago. And this first crash was so important because it basically acted like geological superglue. It welded this whole island arc onto the edge of the ancient continent, which perfectly set the stage for the even bigger collisions that were just around the corner. So after that first island arc fender bender, the main continents themselves were now on a totally unstoppable collision course. You could say that first crash was just the opening act, because the real headliner was about to take the stage, a full-blown continental showdown. If that first collision was big, the next one was on a completely different level. The Scandinavian orogeny wasn't just some island chain hitting a coastline. No. This was the big one, a full-scale continent-on-continent collision. Yep, this was the main event. The entire continent of Baltica crashed right into Laurentia. The impact was so unbelievably immense that it forged a single continuous mountain range that scientists believe was as massive and as tall as the Himalayas are today. Just try to picture that. So we've got our two main continents fused together with this monster Himalayan-scale mountain range running down the middle. But the puzzle's not quite finished. There was just one last piece needed to complete the whole continental jigsaw and, well, seal the fate of the Iapetus Ocean for good. This final collision involved a smaller landmass, a so-called microcontinent named Avalonia. And, according to the research, this wasn't another head-on smash. The collision was soft or highly oblique. So think of it less like a direct impact and more like a massive continental sideswipe. But hey, let's be clear. Even a soft collision on this scale is an absolutely world-changing event. This final glancing blow was the last stitch needed to suture all these landmasses together, creating the foundation for a brand new supercontinent. The closure was complete. And just like that, the great Iapetus Ocean was gone. It was squeezed completely out of existence by the crushing force of these continents coming together. Its width was now 0. Okay, so that's a whole lot of ancient history. We've pieced together this incredible story of destruction and creation. But what does it have to do with the world we see today? How does it connect to those rugged hills in Scotland? This is the really cool part. When you stand in the Scottish Highlands, you're not looking at young, spiky peaks. You're standing on the ancient, worn-down stumps of that Himalayan scale mountain range we were just talking about. You are literally walking through the exposed core of an ancient mountain belt. For over 400 million years, wind, rain, and ice have just been grinding these mountains down, sanding them away. All that erosion stripped away miles and miles of rock, exposing what used to be deep inside, the metamorphic core. We're talking about the rocks that were cooked and crushed by the insane heat and pressure of the collision, forged miles below the original peaks. And this, right here, brings us back to our puzzle, the Appalachian Mountains. They're the other half of the exact same scar. See, after all the continents were stitched together, they eventually started to break apart again. But this time, the planet didn't rip along the old seams. No, it tore a brand new line right down the middle of that giant Caledonian mountain range, creating the Atlantic Ocean and leaving one half in places like Scotland and the other half in North America. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, it means the beautiful landscapes we see are really just echoes of these unbelievably violent ancient collisions. It means the mountains around us are often just the worn-down roots of former giants. And maybe most importantly, it shows that the world map is not permanent. Continents are always drifting, colliding, and tearing apart, sometimes splitting a single mountain range right down the middle. It really makes you look at any hill or mountain in a completely new light, doesn't it? The rocks right under your feet have a history that can stretch back across lost oceans and through deep time. It kind of leaves you wondering, what ancient epic stories are written in the landscape right where you live?